Okay, today we're going to do a little bit more difficult of evaluation, and I don't have any notes on this. We're just going to do it. So the first thing we want to do is identify a subject property to evaluate. And what we're going to use is 2933 Woodside Drive. This is a home owned by my former high school principal and her children. And it's time to get this thing sold, and it's in terrible, terrible shape. So let's start by looking at the tax ID number and the information from the tax ID. Okay, this is a house in Waverly Hills. Okay, very popular neighborhood. It's on 0.77 acres, so it's a very nice parcel size. When we scroll down, we can see sales information. There is no sales information because they bought the lot for $11,500 and built the house in 1978. So no sales information. And when we continue to scroll down, we can see that the tax assessor says it was built in 78. It's 2,853 square feet. Okay, and this is a crazy house. It's in about as bad a shape as any house I've been through in the last 10 years. Tons and tons and tons of work to be done on it, to the tune of probably just below $200,000 worth of work that's needed. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go into the MLS and let's start our CMA. Okay, boom. Okay, so when I do a CMA, the first thing I do is I go into this property search, and what you need to know is that what you have on your screen will be necessarily different than what I have. Mine defaults to just looking for stuff on the market. So what I want to know is I want to know everything that's on the market and coming soon, and everything that failed to sell. And when I put that in, there'll be 105,000 properties. So we need to tweak that down. We're going to hopefully be able to do this whole valuation at neighborhood level, meaning I can get all my comps right out of Waverly Hills and I won't have to expand beyond that. That dropped us down to 410. But if I limit it to just everything off the market in the last 7 months or so, that'll drop that number down greatly. So why would I limit my off-market date to 7 months? Because that'll get us sales that are 6 months ago and more current. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, we'll go April 1st, 2023. And now you don't have to put an end date, but if you don't put an end date and there's a bogus piece of information in the MLS with a future date, it might end up being part of your report. So I always recommend that you put in today's date for your end date. So today is 10/17/2023. And you can see over here we have 13 properties and we still have 13. So that one wasn't necessary that time. So let's just go right into the search. Okay. And let's first start by looking at our failures, because a lot of times agents will list a property more than once, and so they'll have to basically cancel or withdraw some of their listings and only have one that finally closes. So a lot of times your canceled and withdrawal and maybe even expireds are homes that have already sold. Okay, so let's start at the bottom. I'm going to check every one, and then I can uncheck any of them that we don't need. So let's start at the bottom, 605 Lothian Drive. Well, there's 605 Lothian Drive right there. So yes, it failed to sell, and it started at 750, but now it's on the market at 709, and the listing agent has come up with a separate MLS number for it because she's stupid enough to think this makes her house look new on the market to buyers. And obviously buyers aren't stupid, because here they are still not buying the house. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck this one because it's a duplicate. Okay, the next one's 718 Kenilworth. There's 718 Kenilworth right there. So this one's withdrawn, this one's sold. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that. And then we're going to come up to 2809 Sterling and 2809 Sterling. And then finally 718 Kenilworth. And there's 718 Kenilworth. So we ended up not needing any of the failed to sell properties. Now I'm going to click on this button here and it says just show me the checked ones. So now all those are gone. Okay, so we've got one coming soon on Coldstream, being sold by a property manager. They're famous for not selling properties that they list. And then we've got one here listed by us that's already under contract, and then one listed by somebody else who isn't. So here's an expired, but as you can see, it's also sold. So this is just a duplicate. And see, this is somebody who listed it at $599.9, and they had to lower their price down to $544 before they got it sold. Okay, so definitely the sign of people that don't know what they're doing. All right, now we're down to some real potential comps. Now remember, the property we're looking at or we're evaluating was 2,800 square feet. So first thing I'm gonna do is come down to my comparable properties, and I'm gonna say, well, show me something pretty close to 2,800. Well, this one and this one and this one are the closest of the three. That one's a good bit smaller, and that one's a good bit bigger. So I'm gonna get rid of the big one and the smaller one. Okay, and then show me the checked. And now I'm down to 3 solds and 3 that are either on the market or getting ready to hit the market. And so I want to switch our report now to a CMA summary report. Okay, this is great. This tells us, all right, we've got 3 homes on the market, and we've got a median list price of $475, okay, and a median list price per square foot of $227. So if we take that $227 and multiply it by our $2,853, it's obviously going to be below that $475 number. Okay, and don't worry about that. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Okay, the solds are showing up between $175 and $186 a foot, or basically a median price of right at $544. So that kind of gives us an idea of if we have a property that's in really good condition, or at least it's in market condition, it's in the same condition as these were. And then you can click on each one of these links to go through the houses that are being sold. But what I want to show you is we're going to export this to Excel and make something that we can either print out or we can copy and put into another report. So I'm going to just put this out on my desktop. Okay. Now, there's some nuances to this. This does not print out real pretty, but once you get a handle on it, you can clean this thing up pretty quick. All we're trying to do is make this thing fairly legible. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the subject address, which is 2933 Woodside Drive. Okay, so down here I'm going to put subject, the address, pool is a yes. This is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. It's 2,853 square feet. Okay, and so now we can come down here and we can go let's see, let's call this average, min, max, and median. And now we can just use formulas. Okay, we can go equals 2853 times the average list price per square foot. I'm looking for averages right here. Okay, equals K11. And we can do the same for the solds. We can go all right. So what does this show us? This shows us that the average for sale using the value of the price per square foot multiplied by our size, which was 2853. Okay. If we're going to be like the average, we could list this for 597.8. Okay. If we're going to be like the cheapest thing out there, we have to list it for 456. We want to be the most expensive, 689, and we want to be right at the median, that'd be 647. Okay, but more importantly, the sold numbers, this is what's really happening in the market. The average for our size house would be 512,000. The minimum would be 502,000. The max would be 532,000, and the median would be 502,000. Okay, so we're really looking at a 500 to 5 probably 500 to 530 valuation here. And you see where you get that. So now we have our range of values, and we covered why we do ranges. And so I'm going to tell these people probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, maybe 475,000 to 530,000. Now, what's important to see on this? Well, the only thing that's under contract in the actives is at 159. Okay, that's the only thing, and that's the minimum. Okay, so that's that number right there. Everything else is in fantasy land. They're not getting that 709, and this one hasn't hit the market yet. I'm sorry, this one hasn't hit the market yet. So we end up with a nice little range of values. And then we go out and we look at the property and figure out what kind of adjustments we need to make. But that's it. That's how we do a CMA. You can print this up. It's a nice, simple report. And this one was relatively simple to do because all of our comps are of similar homes, of similar ages in the same neighborhood. We will do another one in the future where it gets real difficult because there'll be significantly different types of properties.